Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Thriving Abroad Expat Interviews. And I have to be one of the most fortunate people in the world because I get an opportunity to speak with some of the most amazing, awesome people all over the globe, expats that are doing fantabulous things. And this lady, I wanted to write a whole list of things that I wanted to ask her, but I can't because it would take us about 3 hours. She is amazing. And I am so excited to be with you. Tanisha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you.
So tell us, and we start off with you telling us about your journey. You live in Paris, France.
Yes.
How did you start out? Did you just leave from the US there? Tell us about how your beginnings of expat life.
Okay. So yeah, I did just leave from the US and go over to France. It had always been like a thought in the back of my mind, like I would love to live abroad, but didn't know what that would look like or even how that would play out or anything like that. So it's just something I kind of just, okay, thought about it, whatever. But never put a plan in place. So it just so happened that through some work connections and me speaking at a conference, I met a woman who lived in France. And so we connected and then we stayed in contact after our initial meeting. And then she happened to send me an email once and she said, "Hey, listen, I can't teach my classes next semester. So would you like to take over my wine classes for the semester?" I was like, "Oh, cool. Sounds amazing." She's like, "By the way, I'm in Paris. Remember, I'm in Paris." And I was like, "What? Really? Like, this is a thing? This could like actually happen, like in the world, like in my life? No." So it's like, okay, girl, yeah, I'll do it. Thinking like they're never gonna email me back. I'm not gonna hear anything. But long story short, went back and forth with the dean of the school, and then they eventually like, "All right, yeah, come on over. We got it all worked out, and we'll see you for classes that semester." And that was what, January 2014, and I'm still in France. So
Wow. So okay. Now your background was in wine. Were you a sommelier? Uh, how did you
so
come into that?
right, yes, I did. That was the abridged version of the story, of course. But how I got into wine, oddly enough, was just drinking. And as I drank more, I wanted to know more about wine because my background and what I went to school for was tech. So I have a bachelor's degree in computer science and I have a master's degree in computer forensics. So nothing having to do with wine. So did those things, and through there, I wanted a hobby, something else I was interested in. It became wine and wine tasting. As I started to do that, I met people that were like, "Oh, you're good at this. You should come work with me, do some wine marketing." So I did wine marketing. Then I started speaking at wine festivals, training trade staff on different wines and wine regions. And then I started teaching at a university. Mind you, this was all still part time on the side while I had a full time job. And for the first part of my wine career, I was also in graduate school getting that master's degree. So I was like, well, I clearly don't have a full enough plate. Let me add something else to it. But wine was fun for me, and not just the idea of drinking it being fun, but the learning of it, the flavors, how they come together, the aromas, how you have this amount of sunlight, this amount of rainfall, this soil type will give you this result versus this other soil type will give you something else. If you grow a grape in sand, it will taste one way. You grow a grape in gravel, it will taste another way. The same grape, if you have it in a hot climate, like like Argentina, versus a cooler climate, like say Oregon, you have a completely different flavor profile. And that aspect of it fascinated me. Also, just the history, when you start talking wine and religion and war and art, and how all of those things tie together, I just got more and more fascinated with it and wanted to learn more. So that is definitely a hobby that became a career. So now I need a new hobby, so I'm looking for that.
Well, they say that the best careers are the ones that you're passionate about, your hobbies. they're the
Yep.
best because you'll do it for free, right? I mean, if you had to, and it's
Yeah.
just, it becomes a part of you. Wow. And so as a woman in going to France, uh, talking about wines, because, that's one of the places where some of the best wines are created. A
Yes.
Black woman in France, coming on the scene, talking about
Uh-huh.
wines. And
Not speaking French.
okay, I mean, did
Mhm.
people turn and say, um, excuse me,
Yeah.
how did they receive you when you arrived?
I got some cross looks or some people being like, who is this? What does she want? Because the French wine industry, like really in it, there aren't, black people or really brown people. Like there aren't that many. I'll go to tastings, professional tastings, and I may see two other people. Um, which is still different than in the States, where in the States, like we're still the minority by far, but there are other people. I will see them. But in France, I don't. Luckily for me, though, is I belong to some organizations and then also met some really good people early on who knew people. So I rarely walk into a situation where I don't know someone. So there are people, because the wine industry is very small, especially on an international level, on a European level. So if I know X and Y winemaker, they are probably going to be at every tasting. Or they submit my name. And so since my name was sent in or registered by a certain person, then people look at me a certain way because they're like, okay, you had this introduction. So I'm rarely going into situations now where it is just me just speaking up for myself and them not already having some kind of idea of who I am. And not saying that in an arrogant way, but it's just, I know this other person who has done these things. And so people are like, okay, all right. Oh, you all know Tanisha? Oh, okay, cool. Come in, come in. Then there's also the idea that I am American and they want to pick my American brain or get in the American market. And so being American supersedes everything else, supersedes me being a woman, supersedes me being Black. They're like, oh, American? Oh, come here, come here. Taste this. Can we talk about this? So some people want my help and want to work with me because of that. So that works too.
What state are you from originally?
I'm from Chicago.
You're from Chicago. It's just amazing. I'm so proud of you that,
Thank you.
that you're pioneering for us women out there, especially in a country like France, where I know there's a lot of uh, mm, male ego, that would exist in many fields there, where maybe the males feel like they're, oh, what would a woman know about, things like that. And to see you there and thriving. So let's get into some of the things that you're doing, because you're doing a lot of things in the wine arena. Um, what are some, are you teaching? Do you have a product that you promote? Tell us about that.
So I'm doing, like you said, I'm doing a few things. The main thing now that I'm doing, I'm teaching. So I'm a professor and I teach a few wine courses at some universities in France. One is like an economics of wine course. The other one is kind of a general business of wine outside of France. And those courses are interesting because when I teach them to French students, I have to teach it one way. And when I teach it to like American or Anglophone students who are doing like a study abroad program, I teach it a different way because the way they want information, the way they interpret, understand information, and also the background of what they already know, that's different. So I enjoy teaching both of them to the different groups. So I'm teaching that way. I'm doing virtual wine tastings now because in the before times, I was a food and wine tour guide within Paris. Also would plan trips to Champagne, the Loire Valley, things like that. But now it's all virtual. So I do virtual tastings. I have a wine bar guide for wine bars within Paris. It's called 75 in the 75. So I tried out 75 wine bars. Well, I tried more than that, but I present to the tourist, the consumer, the drinker, 75 wine bars in Paris that they can try out. What else do I do? Create content on social media, whether that's Instagram or YouTube. I've just got my YouTube channel back up and going, and I'm doing this series called What's in the Bag, or In the Bag. We're still working on it, but where I talk to friends that live in Paris or live in France, and we blind taste a wine. The wine is in the bag, and there's something similar about the two wines. They don't know what it is, but they just have to taste it, talk about what they think, the flavors, the aromas, and then I reveal at the end what it is. And the reason I blind taste and like to blind taste people on things is because if you're just out and you're drinking something, it's hard for you to think about what the differences are, what the similarities are, to really know what you like and what you don't like. Because as just a regular drinker, you're out at a party, you're drinking it under party circumstances. You know, other people are around you, you're probably drinking out of a paper cup. It's different. But if you are doing a blind tasting and it's just you sitting there, two glasses, and you're tasting wine, you can really understand what the makeup is of the wine, whether you like it or you don't. If you do like it, what do you like about it? And that's important because once you figure out what you like about it, then you can ask for that at the next time you're at a restaurant, the next time you're at a wine shop. You know what you like, so you can stop saying, oh, I don't know if I like this, or I'm not sure about this. You start to see what kind of flavors and styles you like. And that just gives you more information about wine, and that gives you more confidence. That's the thing I really want people to leave with, is confidence, because so many people talk to me or book a tasting or start a tasting. Oh, I don't know that much about wine, or girl, I don't really know about wine. And I'm like, you know what you like. But then people be like, oh, I don't think I know what I like. And I'm like, okay. So when you blind taste, this helps you to know what you like. So, sorry.
Great idea.
What to think. So what I do, I teach, I do virtual tastings. When the world opens back up, I'll be back to food and wine tours. I have the wine guide and the YouTube channel. And yeah, I think that's it. Yes, that's enough though, I think. I'm still looking for that hobby though. I can't knit. So I'm looking for that as something, just another outlet.
I think you'll find something in 2021. I think
Yeah.
so. What is, I saw this recently, and I wasn't quite sure how you'd set that up. Virtual wine tastings. How do you do that?
So what I do for mine is I'll ask them where they are, what wine shop they shop at, or if there's a place that will deliver wine to them. I'll look up the wines for them and then give them a list of what to order. And then they all come into a Zoom or a Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, whatever the case may be. And they're all there, and I go through a tasting with them of the wines. They have the wines with them. I'll pull up some maps. I may have some pictures because I have visited the place before where the wine comes from. I have an aroma list, and we go through the different aromas and the different flavors. I tell a couple of stories. We laugh at some jokes, and then that's how we do the virtual tasting. So it's like they're with me, but they not quite. So
Okay, that's interesting. So I'd have to pick out wines that I like necessarily, or just some
not
samples.
necessarily. Sometimes people will tell me like, okay, I usually drink this kind of thing, and so I may pick some things that are similar to that, but not exactly like that. They may say that I don't know what I want, or they may be trying to find something completely new, or they may just want to do a taste around France. So I'll pick out some of the most popular regions of France and then do a tasting on those to give people more information on French wines. Because since I live there, my knowledge of French wines is now super deep. And so I can speak to those almost ad nauseum. But it's one of the places that confuses people as far as how the wines are, where they come from, what are the grapes, what are the flavor profiles. So some people just want to do a general tour de France, as I'll call it. And then we'll taste 3 or 4 wines from France, from all around France. And then, just get into it, talk about it, and understand it a little better.
What is your favorite wine to drink? One
Uh,
favorite. I know you may have several, but what is your one? Just
right now, because it's winter, I'm drinking a lot of red wines from southern France. So from Rhone Valley, southern Rhone Valley, because I really like Grenache as a grape. And so when Grenache is in the blend, Grenache is very well known in the south of France because it needs a warmer temperature to grow. So southern Rhone Valley or blends from Languedoc-Roussillon. I'm drinking a ton of those.
nice, nice. I was laughing a little when you said that people say they don't know because I love wine and I know what I like. I know what I like, but I couldn't tell you if I had to identify it in a store. I would have no idea, what it's called, but I do know what I like. So that's interesting. So on the expat front,
Mhm.
living in France, how many years have you been there now?
6.
How has it been for you as a Black woman living in France?
Up and down. It definitely varies. It has become easier as I've started to make longer term friendships and deeper friendships. I've gotten, I won't say gotten out of the expat circles, but while my friends are still expats, they're more long term expats, people who have been there a while. As I get and understand more of the language and can communicate better and can also make French friends, that changes things a lot as I start to do more French activities and not just expat activities. Uh, that makes things better. There are still some times where I have expat moments and I get annoyed. Um, I can't, as of yet, I'm working on that. That's a 2021 goal. But when you need to kind of get on somebody about something, like if you need to call the cable company or your cell phone provider, well, you didn't give me the service correctly and this is not right and I will not pay for it. You need to speak to them in a stern manner, but not necessarily curse them out. I don't know that language in French. I know those words and those terms in English. Like, okay, well, per the requirements of our service, and the way you say things in English to get someone to do what you need them to do. Also, the pleasantries. I understand, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time and concern. I really appreciate your assistance with it. Like, I know these things in English. I don't know the pleasantries and the nuances of it in French. I know words to say, thank you, please help me, that kind of thing, but not that underlying when you're trying to be extra pleasant, what those phrases are. So as I start to know that kind of thing, that will make my time easier. But I think the longer you are somewhere, you start to just integrate more into the society, the culture, and you get away from doing solely expat things. And that definitely helps your experience and helps your time in the country, for sure.
So that's your advice then for anyone that's looking to expat to any country, not just France. Just immerse yourself, stay away from the expat circles for a bit.
Or see, the thing about that that's tough though, because people always say, well, stop hanging around expats or don't go in and, get in the expat groups. On one hand, yes, that is solid advice because you won't really be able to integrate in until you get outside of those groups. But also, when you first go somewhere, you need to be in a situation where you can fully communicate, where you feel comfortable, where you feel safe, where you feel welcomed. And that is the expat community. You can't expect to come to a new country and then fully immerse yourself with people, with strangers in a language that is strange, in a land that is strange. You need something that something that is a home base, something that makes you feel comfortable. So I wouldn't tell anyone to not do expat groups because that's what I did even before I got here. I did Black Expats of France. I did American Expats. I did a cocktail meetup group and I did a wine meetup group because I'm like, I need unique people because the expat life is lonely anyway. That's the part people don't talk about. And so for you not to have anyone, that's rough. So
Yeah, that is. So is France it for you? Do you feel that this is your home now, or are you open to the possibility of maybe setting up shop in another place?
I wouldn't say home. I wouldn't say forever home. Like I've never felt like that because I don't know, maybe since it is just me, and maybe if I, was married to a Frenchman or had a child or something like that, it would feel more like, okay, this could be home. Um, in a sense, I still feel like it is a strange land. I'm comfortable in said strange land, but I do still feel like an outsider to a certain extent because not being with a French partner or having, all these French friends, there is still a lot of France that is um, not open to me because I don't know about it. So I can't say that it necessarily feels like, okay, this is my last stop. Now I will say, wherever else I do go, like I'm not learning no more languages. Like hard enough. Like wherever else I go, they speak French or they speak English. Like that's it. That's all we can do. We're not doing this again. This has literally been the hardest thing I've ever done. Learn.
Really?
Yes. And also French is just a hard language. Like maybe I could have gotten an easier language. I don't know what that language is, but maybe something else. I don't know. But yeah, I'm like wherever else it is, they gotta speak French. So we only got a couple of
English or
yeah,
English?
they gotta speak French or English. That's it. So those are the options. That's it. So like I could move around France. Switzerland is too expensive, so not doing that. Even though I'm sitting here saying all this stuff I'm not gonna do, let a man come be like, oh, I'm gonna whisk you off your feet and we're gonna go away to where okay. Like we going. Like this is what we're doing. But yeah, I can't say France is I don't think of it in terms of a forever home right now, but I don't have any immediate plans to leave. Like now it's working and I've worked very hard to get to this point in my career in the industry with the connections with the things I'm doing. And if I left now, if I stop now, one, it doesn't translate over just yet for me to just move into something in the States and keep my business going the way it is now. And so I will feel like I was kind of quitting. I would feel like I was leaving in the middle. I was leaving things partially unfinished. And yeah, I don't, this chapter isn't over. So I gotta stick it out.
Yes. And lastly, I wanted to ask you if you could share, um, is France, I know there's issues all over the world, all over the globe, but it shouldn't matter if you're committed to finding another place to live and set up and you can thrive anywhere, no matter what. I believe that.
Mhm.
Um, France, for people of color to thrive, are there possibilities?
Absolutely. There are a ton of possibilities and opportunities. If you come here with a partial American mindset, by partial, I mean, that American work ethic, how you don't tell us no. We won't just be like, oh, that doesn't work. Okay, well, it doesn't work. No, we're going to try to figure it out. Um, and people also, like I mentioned before, people look at me as American first and not as necessarily Black. So they look at me as American. And if you think about the course of history and how African Americans escaped to France, whether it was Paris or other places in France, they escaped to France back in the day because they were accepted there. Now, France does have its own horrible history when it comes to race and race relations and slavery and that kind of thing. But that isn't the same case for an American in France. So I don't feel that as much at all.
Okay, so Americans might be a little bit more privileged.
We absolutely are. Yes, I
Okay.
definitely can say that. Yeah,
Well,
definitely can say
that's
that.
that's interesting to know.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting to know. So, if we want to connect with you, and I'm sure there's people that are just loving your story, you have a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can
Yeah,
reach you with YouTube. We'll put the link down below
yeah.
here. And
YouTube,
huh?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my website. I am Girl Meets Glass, and that's it everywhere. So yeah, find me, follow me, send me a DM, send me an email, ask questions, book tastings, buy the wine guide, like all that good stuff. If I can help you in any way along your wine journey or just to better appreciate, understand wine, that's what I'm here for. That's what I do it for. I love to talk to people about wine and drink it. So
And drink it. That's the most important thing.
yes,
Tanisha, it has been amazing talking to you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And you are just amazing and awesome. And I hope that you
thank you.
continue to flourish and be an example of women who are really, really and truly living and thriving abroad.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I definitely hope more people kind of take that jump and move abroad. There are so many opportunities, so many experiences out there for you to have. And it's so much different than just traveling to a place, going somewhere to live there 6 months, a year. It's so much different than just, oh, okay, I went to Paris, I stayed there for 3 days. No, go. If you can, live somewhere else. It, yeah.
Have the experience.
Yep, for sure, for sure.
Happy holidays to you.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well. Thank you so much for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Bye bye.